The rope burned against Velra's wrists as the caravan pulled her forward through the dust. 3 days had passed since the raiders took her from the settlement on Keswick's Prime. 3 days of stumbling over rocky ground while the slavers laughed and placed bets on how long she would last. Her species, the Kellery, were small and fragile by galactic standards. Their hollow bones made them excellent climbers, but terrible slaves. Most died within the first week of capture. The raiders knew this, yet they took her anyway. There was always someone willing to pay for exotic merchandise, even if it arrived half dead. Velra's blue skin had turned purple with bruises. Her 4-fingered hands had gone numb hours ago. She could barely feel her legs beneath her anymore, moving on instinct alone as the heavy transport vehicle dragged her across the wasteland. 2 other captives stumbled beside her, both Kellery like herself. One was an elder who had stopped responding to anything. The other was a young male who kept whispering prayers to gods that had never answered. The lead raider, a massive Droxian named Krell, looked back at them occasionally with yellow eyes that held no compassion. His kind were mercenaries and slavers throughout the outer systems, feared for their strength and complete lack of mercy. The other 4 raiders in his crew were a mix of species, all hardened criminals who had learned long ago that sympathy was weakness. When the sun set on the 3rd day, they made camp in a canyon. The raiders ate dried meat and drank fermented spirits, while the captives lay in the dirt, still bound. No food came for the prisoners. No water. Velra had learned not to ask. The first day she begged. They had kicked her so hard, she tasted blood for hours after. She closed her eyes and tried to remember home. The floating gardens of Keswick's Prime, where her people cultivated luminous flowers that bloomed only in moonlight. The singing competitions in the central plaza. Her brother's laugh. All of it felt like a dream from someone else's life. "Tomorrow we reach the trading post," Krell announced to his crew. "We'll get enough credits for these 3 to make the trip worthwhile. Then we head to the Vortex cluster. I heard there's a colony there with minimal defenses." The raiders cheered. Velra felt something break inside her that had nothing to do with her body. This was her future now. This was how she would die. Not in the trading post, probably. They would keep her alive long enough to sell. But whoever bought her would work her until her fragile body gave out. Days, maybe weeks if she was unlucky. She must have slept, because when she opened her eyes again, the sky had changed. The twin moons hung low on the horizon, casting silver light across the canyon. And there was something else. A sound. Footsteps, but measured and careful. Human footsteps. Velra had never seen a human in person, but everyone in the galaxy had heard of them. The newest species to join the galactic community, barely 2 generations ago. They were strange. Not particularly strong, or fast, or intelligent compared to other species. What made them remarkable was their refusal to accept the way things were. A figure emerged from the shadows at the canyon's edge. Tall by Kellery standards, but average for a human. Male, she thought, though human gender differences were subtle to her eyes. He wore simple traveling clothes and carried a plasma rifle that had seen better days. His hair was dark, cut short, and his face was set in an expression she couldn't read. The human moved through the camp like smoke. He reached the first raider, a Vexian sleeping near the fire, and struck him with the butt of his rifle. The raider dropped without a sound. The second raider managed a half-shout before the human was on him, wrestling him to the ground and knocking him unconscious. Then things went wrong. Krell woke up. The massive Droxian rolled to his feet with a roar that shook the canyon walls. His crew scrambled for weapons. The human fired his plasma rifle, catching one raider in the shoulder, but Krell charged forward like a freight transport. He was easily twice the human size and 4 times his weight. What happened next would stay with Velra for the rest of her life. The human didn't run. He dropped his rifle and pulled 2 short blades from his belt. As Krell swung the fist that could have shattered stone, the human ducked under it and slashed at the Droxian's leg. Krell howled but didn't slow. He grabbed for the human, who rolled away and came up cutting again. It wasn't a fair fight. It wasn't even close to fair. But the human fought anyway, bleeding from a dozen wounds, always moving, always striking back. 2 more raiders joined the fight. The human took them all on, blades flashing in the moonlight. He shouldn't have won. By every standard of galactic combat doctrine, he should have died in the first 30 seconds. But humans, Velra realized, didn't care about what should happen. They only cared about what they could make happen. The human caught 1 raider across the throat, stabbed another through the shoulder, used his smaller size and speed to stay away from Krell's crushing grip. When Krell finally got hold of him, the human did something that made no tactical sense. He dropped 1 blade and drove his thumb into Krell's eye. The Droxian screamed and released him. The human rolled away, grabbed his fallen rifle, and shot Krell 3 times in the chest. The massive raider crashed down like a falling tree. Silence filled the canyon. The human stood in the center of the camp, breathing hard, bleeding from at least 6 visible wounds. 4 raiders lay unconscious or dead around him. The last one, a thin Zephian female, had her hands raised in surrender. The human looked at her for a long moment, then gestured with his rifle toward the transport vehicle. "Take it and leave. If I see you again, I won't hesitate." The raider ran. The transport roared to life and disappeared into the darkness. Only then did the human turn to the captives. He moved toward them, and Velra felt fear spike through her exhaustion. She had just watched this being kill or disable 5 seasoned fighters. What would he do to defenseless prisoners? He knelt beside her and pulled out a small knife. She flinched, but he just caught her bonds. "Easy," he said in passable trade standard. "You're safe now." The rope fell away. Velra's hands exploded with pain as blood returned to them. She gasped, and the human steadied her with surprising gentleness. "My name is David," he said. "I've been tracking this crew for 6 days. I'm sorry I couldn't get here sooner." He moved to the other 2 captives, freeing them as well. The elder Kellery remained unresponsive, but the young male started crying. David checked them both for injuries, his hands careful and practiced. "Why?" Velra managed to croak out. Her voice sounded like broken glass. David looked at her. His eyes were brown, she noticed. A common human color, according to the databases. But there was something in them she had never seen in any other species. Something that burned. "Because someone has to," he said simply. "The galaxy accepts slavery as an economic reality. My people don't. We can't change the law yet, not without starting a war that would kill billions. But we can change it 1 person at a time." He gave her water from his pack, fed her emergency rations that tasted like compressed cardboard but felt like a feast. Did the same for the others. Then he made a come call on a device from his belt. "This is David. I've got 3 Kellery refugees in the Torvin Canyon. Requesting pickup." A voice crackled back. "Another human. Copy that. Transport is 2 hours out. You injured?" David looked down at his blood-soaked clothes. "Nothing critical." "The targets?" 4 down, 1 fled. She won't be operating in this sector again. "Good. Bring medical supplies for the refugees. They've been through hell." 2 hours later, a small human ship arrived. It was nothing like the sleek vessels of the major galactic powers. It looked cobbled together from spare parts and determination. But it flew, and it had a medical bay where a human woman immediately started treating the Kellery captives. Velra watched. David threw the medical bay window as they flew toward Kessex Prime. He sat alone in the cargo hold. stitching his own wounds with the same careful precision he had shown everything else. No complaint. No request for help. Just a human doing what humans apparently did. "Your species is strange," Valera said to the doctor treating her. The woman, who had introduced herself as Maria, smiled. "We get that a lot. You could have left us. You could have let the galaxy continue as it always has. Why do you fight?" Maria finished wrapping Valera's wrists and sat back. "There's an old human saying, 'All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing.' We decided a long time ago that we wouldn't be the ones who did nothing." 3 weeks later, Valera stood in the floating gardens of Kessex Prime, watching the luminous flowers bloom in the moonlight. Her wrists still ached. Her dreams still filled with the feeling of rope and dust. But she was home. She was a live dot and somewhere out there. A human named David was tracking another slaver crew, refusing to accept the galaxy as it was, working to make it what it should be, one rescue at a time. If you enjoyed this video, consider supporting us with super thanks. Your support helps us create more great content. Thank you.